Well, hello and welcome to episode 238 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, we are carrying along with our Halloween spooky season movies out there for everyone. And this week we have quite a doozy, I will say.
We do. And I should apologize. Look, listen, people of all, listen to this. If you are a child or you have sensitive ears, this might not be the right podcast episode for you. And I'm sorry. I have never seen Hellraiser. I had no idea what we were getting into. We were
Yeah,
looking
sorry,
at
Nora.
scary. Sorry, Nora. I'm sorry, baby girl. I love you. I so sorry. This is not for you, sweetie. Don't listen. This movie is monumental. Like I remember bunches of people dressing up as the quote unquote Pinhead and the
Hmm.
box that's like supposed to be really spooky, but I have never seen this movie or any of the Hellraisers. So I had no idea what we were getting into. I put it on the calendar because I feel like it's one of the universes that are spooky and terrifying that we have not covered, and so that's why we decided to do it here at Drink the Movies. But I had no idea how adult this was. I mean, it is very, 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 very adult on so many levels. There's so much to talk about here, and it's real gross. Half of it's real gross. So there, I've said it.
That's right. Absolutely. So let this stand for your parental guidance advised out there. Absolutely. So grab your puzzle box, I guess, and solve it at your own peril if you want to. And then we'll grab some gin, we'll grab some Aperol, we'll grab some peppercorns, and we'll mix up a cocktail to go with this one. We'll be right back.
So apparently, since I've never seen this film, there's a cocktail right at the very beginning. Like the very first shot of this show is this movie is this green concoction that this guy is drinking, and it looks like it's very much like just a giant cup of absinthe that he puts a sugar cube in. Um,
I
Now
feel
I
like
did
I
not know
drank a
that.
giant glass of absinthe when I started watching this, to be honest.
Oh my
Or
God,
maybe I
right?
should
Like,
have. I don't
what
know.
is
One or the
you
other.
probably should have the visions probably would have been better. Anyway, I feel bad because we probably could have done a riff on that. However, what we did instead was we found a YouTube channel called The Martini Shot that did this really amazing Hellraiser cocktail, and he calls it like the sour and the sweet. And it's very actually surprisingly good. We're going to talk about all the things. But it's worth giving it a shot. It's very spooky looking. It has this really beautiful. It's served in a coupe glass with a really beautiful black sugar rim. If you can find that, you just line your cup with lime juice, and then you dip it gently into the sugar. And you just want to be careful that you don't get any of the sugar into the cup itself when
Mhm.
you pour it. So just be careful. It's just an extra touch. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it definitely makes the cocktail kind of pop visually having the black on
Mm.
there. I don't love the sugar rim here, kind of as a cocktail component. So you can go ahead and take that or leave that. But if you want to make it look really fancy, you definitely go ahead and do that. This cocktail it comes together, pretty simply. There is something that you're either going to have to like go to the internet to purchase or make for yourself. We can talk about that here as well because this is going to require a half an ounce of pepper syrup. It doesn't really specify on the YouTube channel on the video, uh, what kind of pepper syrup this gentleman was using, or if he made it, kind of what it was. So I just assumed that it was going to be just like a black pepper type of a syrup, as opposed to like a jalapeno pepper kind of a thing. So what I did was I made simple syrup, and I just put roughly a tablespoon or so of cracked black peppercorns into that. I let it steep kind of until the syrup cooled down, and then strained it out and used it in this cocktail. I think you could leave the peppercorns in there, probably give it a little bit more spice, but then you're going to have that. And I think that that is kind of a fun and versatile like cocktail ingredient. Like I feel like you could play around with that in a lot of different ways to bring just like this kind of like complex heat to things. Not like a fiery like I said like a jalapeno or habanero pepper, but kind of a more sophisticated heat. That's what I did for mine, but you went a different route altogether, Michaela.
I did. Well, I was trying to the same. I was looking for black peppercorns, and apparently, when you buy a jar of the shaker that has its own grinder,
Hmm.
you can't just open it up and get the black peppercorns out of there. So rather than breaking it open and creating a mess, I realized that
It's
I
just like the
had
puzzle
pink.
box. You have to
It's
figure
like the
out how to
Pokemon.
get
I had
into
to
it.
figure it out in the gates of hell. Instead of the peppercorns flying all over the place, it's Pinhead who shows up and takes your soul. No, instead, what I decided to do was I realized that I had some pink peppercorns left over
Mhm.
from a drink that we made, gosh, probably 3 years ago when we made the Maid Marian when we were talking about Robin
Mhm.
Hood,
Mhm.
Prince of
Mhm.
Thieves. And so I did very similar. I took a tablespoon of those. I did they're whole, so I crushed them a little bit and put them in some simple syrup.
Mhm.
I left it for a few days, and it created a really beautiful kind of pink hue, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And but it was a very different, like it was peppery, but it was very soft. And
Yep.
so I agree. I really love the idea of a pepper syrup. I'd love to experiment because I do think that that heat that like a cayenne brings, just the heatness of it was really, really nice. But it was mine was also really soft. And then when I talked to you about it, you reminded me that scientifically a pink peppercorn is not actually real peppercorn, and maybe that is why it wasn't as peppery as I thought it would be. Because I
Mhm.
really thought it was going to be, we've done a pepper tincture before, and I thought it would be more like that, where more in your face.
Right.
And
Mhm.
mine really wasn't. It was a very soft, kind of a subtle heat that it brought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that that would be good. That would be also be a really good ingredient. Obviously, we, as Michaela said, we used it in our Robin Hood episode. I think that you could probably just use like a, I don't know, like a quarter of an ounce or so of that just into like a dry martini. That sounds really good, actually. A little pink peppercorn martini action there. So you're going to need your pepper syrup, however you decide to do it. I was a big fan of the black pepper syrup here in this because it pairs really well with gin and it pairs really well with Aperol, which we're also going to need. So into a shaker tin goes 2 ounces of whatever, kind of basic gin that you have there, a half ounce of Aperol, a half ounce of your freshly made pepper syrup, a half ounce of lime juice, and then 2 strawberries. Don't bother muddling those up. You're just going to kind of crush them a little bit as we shake all of this together with some ice. Go ahead and shake that and then strain it into your prepared coupe glass with the sugar or, just chilled otherwise. And then you can sip and enjoy. You can also take a strawberry as garnish. You can pop a little toothpick or two in there, give it the full-on pinhead aesthetic, and enjoy. So, Michaela, what did you think about this? We probably I don't, we might have liked them the same, but certainly there are going to be different cocktails using the different kinds of peppers there. But what did you think about it?
So I loved this. I thought it was a revelation. I made a couple of these because it was real, real good. I thought it was really pretty as a cocktail. And then, if you're gonna do the pins, like I actually went and got my sewing kit, sterilized some pins and put them in the strawberry. So it was like a little pinhead strawberry that was next to it that was super cute. You don't need to do that. Obviously, that's not gonna really matter. But I made this drink after I made the drink for content and took pictures of it and sipped it. I made like two more because they were really, really good. I really love the mixture of the heat that it brought. I'm not going to say it's peppery because to me it didn't taste like pepper. It was just kind of a warmth, but
Hmm.
then it had the sweetness of kind of the strawberries, which is really light. Because again, you're just adding the strawberry like in the shaker tin. So there's some strawberry in there for sure, but not tons. But the Aperol is what makes this thing amazing to me. And I did not think I was gonna love this. I don't know why. I was a little worried that it was gonna be too tart or too bitter because it is you know, it's got Aperol in it, but I don't know. I loved it. I thought this was it felt very sophisticated. It was really well balanced. I now have to go try like a real pepper syrup, apparently, because mine didn't wasn't real. But
I think that you'll like it with the addition of like a black pepper or white
mm,
pepper, or, kind of whatever kind of pepper you want to try with this. Because, like I said, that flavor goes really well with Aperol. It pairs up really nicely with that and the gin there as well. So yeah, I absolutely love this too. It felt very sophisticated, but it was also like dead simple to put together after you had that pepper syrup made, and that's no harder really than making a simple syrup and straining out a few
mhm.
pepper berries there, as it were. So yeah, I definitely give this one a try, even if you're not going to be watching Hellraiser or any of the like 9 sequels or 10 sequels that followed it. Definitely give this one a try because it is a good one. So with that, Michaela, let's go ahead and mix up another one. We'll try all the different pepper syrups. If you, you said you had like three or four of these, you should have tried different pepper at all. We could have like a
I should
flight,
have.
a Hellraiser flight. That'd have been good. So let's do that. So we'll mix up some of those, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Hellraiser.
I have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Hellraiser. Beyond any terror you have imagined.
Spoiler warning for Hellraiser.
Oh,
If you've not seen this, don't bother. No, I'm just kidding. Spoiler warning for Hellraiser.
I thought that was Frank Cotton.
It's Frank Cotton. What kind of a name? Anyway, we're going to talk about all the things Hellraiser, okay? And I've not seen this movie, and we're going to talk about some of the things that should have happened in this film, like people running out of houses that are filled with dead body parts. I don't know. Finding a window. Maybe not touching the dead bodies. I don't, there's a lot. There's a lot here. We're going to talk about it all. You've been warned. Okay? There you go.
You've been warned. You've had plenty of opportunities to see Hellraiser. It was released in 1987. It was directed by Clive Barker, who gets a lot of notoriety here for this film. We'll talk about him here in a second. And it stars Andrew Robinson, Claire Higgins, Ashley Lawrence, and Sean Chapman as the Cotton family. Hashtag the Cotton family is complicated. So we'll talk about them a little bit more as we go through here. I didn't really know how to best like describe these characters from the top, so we'll get into all of that here. Let's start with Clive Barker. Michaela. Clive Barker is kind of like this horror skewed, I don't know, like mastermind, right? Like you see
Mm,
Clive Barker on something, it has a lot of weight behind it. So, similar to like when you see something that's like presented by Stephen King, or now you see something that's presented by like Jordan Peele. Clive Barker is, kind of like the same thing. I don't want to say like a fringe artist, but basically wrote like horror stories, wanted to adapt this into a film, and so he just decides to direct it himself. That's how he gets into film. He does like other like art and painting, all this stuff.
mm.
He's just like a horror savant. What do you think about Clive Barker?
So I remember hearing about him when he did the film Lord of Illusions. Now, Lord of Illusions came out in 1995. It had Scott Bakula in it. And I love Scott Bakula from Quantum Leap. It's a very different film, just so we're clear. But he did all the Hellraisers. He did Nightbreed. He did Sleepwalkers, which terrified me, but I didn't see that until the late 90s. So I had no idea who this person was. It's interesting to me because he also did Tales from the Dark Side, which he did an episode of that. And I mean, anything he does is going to be pretty gory. I think it's going to be like
Mhm.
steeped in like this supernatural kind of like heaven hell thing. But yeah, he's got this following that is really interesting in the horror and like the like gore special effects genre, I feel like, because there are things that we're seeing in this film. I'm not saying it was great, but I'm saying there are things that we've seen in this film that we have seen many times after, probably because it originated in this movie.
Yeah, and Clive Barker also very prolific writing, both in horror and in film.
Mm.
Was one of the co-writers of the film Candyman, which is a movie that maybe we'll cover in a future year of Drink the Movies Halloween Time Tales. Time will tell there, but yeah, Clive Barker, like I said, his name carries a lot of weight in the horror industry, and this was really kind of where he got to start directing, right? I guess some of his stories had been adapted into films, was never pleased with the way those came out or translated, right, from his pages to the movie screen. So decides to take the helm here and lead the way in this one. So let's talk about the movie a little bit. It's not a super long film, and it's a pretty, kind of basic kind of story. But like you said, this like theme of this story feels like it's been told time and time again. I guess since the origination of him writing that first story, which, is about the same time, I guess, in 1987. So basically, it opens up and you get that cup of green stuff there. Like the glass itself, and the way that it's being poured in there, it looks like it's some sort of like Turkish coffee. It seems like we're in some sort of like Middle Eastern like market kind of a thing there. So that would make sense, but it is this bright green, so you don't know exactly what it is. And there's a gentleman there. His name is Frank Cotton. He is played by Sean Chapman, and he is buying himself a little cube of danger and despair. We don't know what this cube is, but don't if you come across if you're at Target and you see one of these cubes, do not buy it. That's
Do
my
not buy it.
recommendation.
Do not buy it. Well, what I find interesting is that the guy who's selling it to him, they're supposed to be in Morocco, and the guy who's selling it to him says it's yours already. It's always been yours. And this is the thing where I mean, we talk about this movie as being good or bad, and we're going to get into that. But like the laying of the story, this story is actually really kind of neat. So Frank goes home. He goes into this room that is bare. There's wood everywhere. There's all these candles. It looks like he's going to sacrifice a goat or something. You don't really know. But he solves the puzzle, and all of a sudden, all these hook chains emerges, and like there's tearing of the flesh, and that's real gross. And he's screaming. Um, and the puzzle gets reset, and the room looks normal. But I definitely think that opening that puzzle was a mistake. I don't know what he was hoping to get out of it, but probably not being hooked to death. I don't think.
It seems like it's bad, and that's probably not what he was expecting to happen. Although you could make the argument that maybe that is exactly what he expected or wanted to happen. And we're going to get into that as we go here. So basically, in this house of horror where this thing has just happened. Flash forward, I don't know how long it has been, but now Larry Cotton, played by Andrew Robinson, and his new bride Julia Cotton, played by Claire Higgins, are coming in. Right, this is your brother's house and you're just coming in to move in. They don't explain why was the house willed to him. Was Frank just missing and he's like, I guess I could just have your house now. I don't understand it. That didn't make any sense to me. But they're here and they're like, all right, free house. We're moving in here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you get the feeling because he's like, this was my brother's. He could be anywhere. I mean, you get the feeling that this was like the family home. I mean, it looks old enough to have been their family home. Everything in it looks ancient, even for 1987. There are these like 60s, like stained glass windows, right?
Mm.
And Julia is not loving this house like at all. And finally, she's like, "Yeah, fine. Let's just live here. It's fine." But she sees like up in the attic, Frank has left all of his stuff, and some of it looks real gross, as if he's like, I don't know, somebody that is addicted to drugs. There's like a pallet on the floor. There's stuff everywhere.
They think like a drifter had been there, like living,
Right, right.
right? So
Except there's these photographs of Frank, and this is where we get like a flashback where Julia, unbeknownst to Larry, Julia had this torrid love affair with Frank, and it was very strange. They see each other. It's like the first time they see each other, and Julia seems to be like completely captivated by Frank, even though he looks and acts like a total jerk. She's just completely under his spell.
I love
And
I love when so much when Frank like gets to the door and he's standing in the pouring rain and he's like knocks on the door and he's like, are you gonna let me in? She's like, I don't know who you are. He explains himself, but he totally looks like the scariest, most serial killery looking dude of all time. What?
oh yeah,
No, you stay out in the
no,
rain, bro.
yeah, yeah, no, no. Instead, he comes in and like basically she takes off all her clothes. They have sex. I don't. There's this weird like chin sucking moments. We got it. I that was weird. That was strange.
Hmm. It's like the
Uh,
night before the wedding. They have sex like
yeah, on
on the
the
wedding
wedding
gown.
dress.
Another plot hole right there. You don't have your wedding dress laying out on the bed. It's hanging up. You got to keep that thing. It's back from the
Right,
cleaners. You don't want any wrinkles in that thing. It's hanging up
right.
somewhere. It's not
Like
just on the bed.
this
What's
maybe
even
this was
happening?
before steam cleaning. I don't know, but either way, that is not something that you're going to want to do if you're getting married anyway. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense. He cuts her negligee off of her body with a knife. I'm like, that is not, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. Anyway, so we see this flashback and we're like, oh, well, that's why Julia is like clutching all of these photographs of like a good looking Frank. But he's not good. I mean, he's not that good looking, but she's like holding these. And then while this is happening, Larry cuts his hand like real bad. I love how even the most like small things were like exaggerated. The makeup
Oh
department
yeah,
for this film, like it's a gash on his hand that happens from a nail, but
from an
it like
old rusty
slices
nail.
his whole
Yeah.
hand open, and it's like flesh is coming off, and then he like an idiot, he just rather than goes to the bathroom or to a sink and calls for help, he just walks over to his
Or
wife.
just
This might be why
or just
she's not
stay
happy to
there.
be married to him anymore. And she
Could be.
just
That could be. Good one.
he
Good one,
walks
Larry.
into the room and he's bleeding everywhere and he's like, "Help me." And she's
Oh,
like,
good
"All
old
right,
good
let's
old
go down three
Larry.
flights of stairs to get you actual medical help, you
That
adult."
would
Anyway,
no no Frank. I hated that. So yeah, like the hooks come out and rip the guy open. There's a bunch of other like gore stuff in this. But they're carrying this mattress up the stairs. There's this old rusty nail sticking out, and Clive Barker shows it like 19 times before anything happens. And I'm like, I don't like that nail. I don't like where this is going. I don't like where this is going. And yeah, it basically cuts his hand off, this old rusty nail, which is not great. Yeah, so you go up to the attic, you drip blood on the floor, and that's going to resurrect your once thought dead brother from the grips of hell. I guess that's what happens. Also, among all of this mayhem that's going on, moving into the new place, is you got Kirsty Cotton, who's played by Ashley Lawrence. She's like a college student, I think, right? And she's looking for a place to crash, which is one of the reasons why Larry says that they should move into the house, because then they'd have room for her to move in. It seems like there's probably some bad blood, or maybe not bad blood, but Kirsty and Julia, the new wife of Larry, does not seem to get on that well, potentially, with one another, kind of shooting some daggers here. But yeah, when that blood gets dripped on the attic floor, it's all over. It now is time to leave. Larry, Kirsty, get out of there. Julia, what are you even doing right now? But Frank is back, and we should give shout out here, because Frank is played by Oliver Smith here as Skinless Frank, right? Because he's basically just in like a suit, like showing if you took off all your skin and you just had muscles. That's what this guy looks like. He's played by Oliver Smith. So, and he apparently
yeah,
played Skinless Frank like in the next like a bunch of these. So that's cool.
there's a bunch of skinless Franks.
I
Great.
guess.
Um,
I guess
glad.
we'll talk about
Wonderful.
that.
Okay. Well, Julia finds him like in a heap on the floor. He's like just a bunch of, I don't know. He can barely walk. He's like bones and a little bit of ligaments put together. But she's still so obsessed with him. She agrees to help him restore his body. And Frank is very clear. He's like, it was the blood, and I need blood, so go do that. And so she like goes to bars and she brings men home and she stabs him. Like one like is real excited but is real stupid because this is a bad idea. She's like, let's go up
It's
to the
what you
attic.
do for your brother-in-law that you hooked up with one time.
I got
You just start murdering people.
yeah. I don't know. So she does this a few times, and then this is where the special effects are really cool, though I feel like, because you see different iterations of Skinless Frank. He
Right?
becomes
Yeah.
less and less
Mm-hmm.
skinless. He becomes more and more muscled. He's still covered in blood. Like it's still super gory and not attractive at all. But he's still like he's growing. He's growing as a person. Physically, not emotionally, that's for sure. Because all he cares about is Julia killing more people so that he can be restored.
Yeah, so he could be restored, right? He's trying to make his escape, I guess, from hell, I guess, where the cenobites were, right? Where he's solved this puzzle box. That's what he wants, right? He's kind of using Julia. I don't know. Like I never really got the feeling that Frank was really all that into Julia, other than she was willing to do his bidding and get him his body back, which okay, good on you, Frank, I guess. Yeah. Julia, on the other hand, is bringing these dudes home, as you mentioned, and murdering them just like straight up with a hammer, like like Julia had it in her, I guess. She was ready to go from the start. So I have questions about
Mm.
Julia as well. But yeah, you get all these different iterations of Frank, and that probably is like the neatest, I guess, kind of like aspect of this is he's kind of coming back together, and like you get the feeling that he's getting close. He needs like one more or something like that, and.
Mm.
About this time, kind of the gig is up a little bit, right? Because Kirsty is like on her way home, and she sees one of these, strange gentlemen going into the house. So she's already, a little bit skeptical of this new stepmom, Julia. So when she sees that, it's going to go and confront her, and there's a bit of a kerfuffle, which is going to land Kirsty in the hospital. But she can solve the puzzle too, right? She gets that box. That's bad. Stop solving this box. Throw the box away, people.
Throw the box away. This part I thought was just a little. It was a bridge too far. I feel for me. I mean, it was fine. So she is in the hospital, and they will not let her use the phone. And they're like, "Look, you're gonna lay in this bed," and she's got this box, and so she does the thing where it looks like a box, but then you open it up and turn it, so now it's like this weird looking pentagram looking thing on the side. I don't know, but then the walls turn into this
The
long
box is the
hallway.
coolest part of the movie. The box is
Oh,
awesome.
I agree.
The
The
box is
box is
super
neat.
cool.
Box is cool. Then she has to go down this long hallway. It takes her 15 minutes to walk like 4 steps down this hallway, and we come face to face with all the cenobites. The cenobites are, there's like 6 of them or 4 of them, something like that.
Mm, mm.
Pinhead is one of them, where it's like a guy who's covered in pins, like stick pins.
He's
It
like the
looks
lead
real terrifying.
Cenobite, played
He,
by Doug
he
Bradley.
is. He looks like the lead. Yep, yep. And you don't know any. Look, I didn't know anything about any of this, so I'm like, who the heck are these people? What are they doing? There's like it looks like a woman. I don't know how they identify, but there's this weird shroud of metal over their head, and like their esophagus is pulled open. Then there's a
Yeah.
fat looking dude with glasses that you're not really scared of until he takes his glasses off, and then you realize that his eyes and his nose and his mouth have been sewn shut. That's really gross. And then there's this other thing that's literally just teeth. Like
That's a lot of
I
teeth.
feel like the creator, the creative director for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, when
Yeah.
the mouth came out,
The
it was
mouth, yeah.
that. I really was
That could
like,
be.
okay, it needs to be like that, but it needs to be bigger teeth and it needs to be black. That's what we need. And that's what we got. We got like giant teeth. And then don't forget, down this hallway, there's also this weird looking upside down centipede thing that's got like nasty teeth and a stinger, and like its arms are up and its mouth is down, and it's running after her in this hallway. And it took her 4 seconds, like 4 feet, 4 steps to get in it, but it takes her 87 years to run out of this hallway and back into the room, where then they all grab her and they explain to her that she's opened the box and now they're going to take her soul and they're going to torture her to death. And it's really sweet that she's crying, but there's nothing they're going to be able to do about it, because that's what
That-
this is, right?
that's
and
what
she,
happens. Open the
and
box.
she
You're
but
done.
she's super smart. And I mean, she doesn't look it in some ways, because she walked down a hallway and she played with a box, and maybe she shouldn't have done that, she got from a skeleton that's alive. But anyway,
You don't
she
know.
is smart enough to make a deal with these guys, right? With these cenobites. And she's like, I will bring you Frank because he is alive still. You didn't actually take his soul. He's up in the attic of my house, and I will go get him for you if you let me go. And they are like, okay.
Okay, that
So
sounds
they
good. That
agree.
sounds good. Yeah, they need to get Frank back, I guess. I don't really understand the world of the Cenobites, and it doesn't really do that good of a job of explaining them, to be quite honest. But yeah, she makes this deal, right? She's going to go get Frank. He lied to them. He like escaped their clutches and got out of hell. They don't really ever explain how he did that either. But he was just living in the floorboards, waiting for someone to bleed in the attic, I guess. So she goes back to the house, right? And she gets there and she's confronted by her stepmom, Julia, and her dad, right? Larry, all seems fine now, except it turns out that it's not really her dad. Just her dad's face on top of Frank, so that's pretty bad and messed up. That's not great. That's not great. But the Cenobites do show up in the nick of time to get Frank because he basically like confesses, right? He doesn't tell them, but they overhear. They're like eavesdropping. They're like, let's see how this plays out because we're Cenobites. We might be all powerful, maybe we're not. I don't know for sure. So they basically confront him. They're like, "You escaped us. You prepare to feel my wrath." So they kill Frank, right? Or they take Frank back and they rehook him. They do the same thing they did the last time, I guess. So they do that, and then about this time, just like true demonic lords would do, they turn to Kirsty and be like, "About that deal, yeah, deal's off. We don't really care. We're gonna take you too because we're Cenobites. That's what we can do that. We don't really need to listen to you." So.
We don't need to explain ourselves or hold true any bargains. Absolutely not. We're coming for you. And about that time, Christy's boyfriend shows up at the house, and instead of
Steve,
she
is that his
saying,
name? Steve?
she's like, "Get out," and he's like, "Whatever, I'm gonna help you." It's horrible. So now they go through this maze of one
Steve's out of his
staircase.
depth.
It's one staircase they're trying to get down it. They make it look like it's like I don't know, Clash of the Titans. But anyway, she is messing with this box to try and close it back up. Apparently, there are like 6 steps, and every step she gets closer and closer. One Cenobite dies, and it dies
Mhm.
by some sort of yellow electric shock, and it like goes up in a puff of smoke. But and then they decide that they're gonna go. I don't know what this is another plot hole. Like immediately when they're safe and they've closed the box up and it's just Steve and a very shaken, bloody Kirsty. When they what they then they it shows them with piles and piles of rubble that's on fire next to like an office building. And I don't know if this is supposed to be their house that they've finally burned to the ground or if they just went to like a place where a lot of people who
Yeah.
are experiencing homeless are trying to keep warm. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what happened there, but I'm like, I'm real lost. And so into this pile, they're throwing like the old photographs, they're
Yeah.
throwing a bunch of Frank's stuff, and they throw this box.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the house burns down, but it is funny because it looks like the burning pile of rubble is just like in the front of like a strip mall kind of a thing, which is it's not like in a neighborhood, so
Yeah, it's
that's kind
real
of
weird.
strange. That's where they had the fire permit from whatever town in England they were filming this in. I think is how that works. We should also make mention that of course Frank accidentally stabs Julia, so Julia's done too. Kiersey's going to have
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of years of talking to therapists after this. This is a bad time for her. Um, yeah, and so yeah, it burns down. They throw or Kirsty throws the box into this burning fire, and then one of these vagrant types, fishes some stuff out of there and fishes it out of there, and takes off with it, of course, as you do. We'd seen this gentleman earlier in the film too.
We had, we had.
It just kind of in passing. Like I don't even think that Kirsty makes like any sort of like comments about him or anything like that. But I think we're supposed to take away that he was just kind of like overseeing this, and then potentially was the original like old man from the beginning of that. Does that mean that he is cenobites as well? He is in cahoots with the cenobites. Is this supposed to be like Satan? I don't know that
I mean,
part
he
for sure,
turns
but
into a very, very unattractive dragon-looking zombie thing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
after he grabs the. I don't know. I don't see him have it in his claws and his talons, so I could be
Hmm.
wrong. But he turns into this weird skeletal creature, winged dragon devil
Yeah.
thing, but I do love the end. The very, very final like shot is that all of this is happening in the circle that's in the box, that's sitting back on the table, that's back in
Mm-hmm.
Morocco, that's this man is showing to another person. It's not Frank again, it's somebody else. And this other person is like, hey, what do you have? I'm looking for something really special, right? Like, I really thought that that was kind of neat. And we see so many tropes now of stories that kind of end where they were beginning. There was a
Yeah.
great it wasn't great. There was a movie that Kevin Bacon was in with Amanda Seyfried, and it was You Never Should Have Left. And it had that
Mm-hmm.
circular thinking, and that was the best part about that film. And I believe that this is one of those. It might not have been the first time we've seen something like it, but it kind of comes full circle in a really eerie and scary way, where it was kind of almost predestined. Like this terrible story that we just saw already happened, and it's going to happen again and again because somebody is going to want to open this box. And every time they do, hell and the cenobites will be unleashed, and someone's going to die terribly, like a ton of times, and it's just going to be awful.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And to piggyback off of that, people are going to keep opening this box for some reason or another because there are, in fact, 11 of these now, Michaela. So there is the Hellraiser, which we just discussed. There are nine sequels to that. And then there is a new rebooted version, which came out in 2022, so just a couple of years ago. Now, Clive Barker was only he did the first one, right? He wrote the screenplay and directed the first one, and then he was an executive producer, I believe, on the new one, the 2022 one. But he had signed away the rights to Hellraiser kind of before the first one came out, so he didn't really have any involvement with any of the nine sequels to this, which is kind of wild. I pulled up like a list of like horror like film like franchises and how many entries. So we've got like 13 Halloween entries. We've got 12 Friday the 13th. And then next up 11 Hellraiser. So I mean Hellraiser spawned this whole thing, and it makes sense I guess in a lot of ways because this movie was dirt cheap. We talked about everyone. That was basically the cast. Save there was like a doctor and like a couple of the guys that were there to like help move that mattress. So there's only
Hmm.
like eight people in the cast here. So they shot this for about $1 million, and then went on to make about $30 million in box office revenue. And then obviously, would have been in the 80s, so a lot of VHS sales there on top of that. So financially, this thing was like a cracking success by all
Hmm.
accounts. So let's talk about the movie a little bit there. We kind of ran through it. There's a lot more visually that happens. They're really not so much with the Cenobites, which I think if you've never seen this before, you get Pinhead, he's on like the cover of like the box and of the poster and all that stuff. You think that it's going to be more about that, and it's not really. They show up pretty few and far between, which is okay, to me. But for me, watching this time around, probably even watching it when I would have watched it the only other time that I watched it, back in my younger days, right? Like late high school, early college, whenever that would have been. I like the premise of this a lot more than I like this.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, it's interesting because I was talking just earlier to somebody else who really likes this whole series, right? They really
Hmm.
like this universe, and they're like, "Oh, you're missing, you missed the whole point." And I guess I did if unless the whole point was to ask like for more, because I didn't understand what the cenobites were. I don't even know, they probably call themselves cenobites somewhere in the movie, but I hear that term when I do the research on like what is
Right.
actually happening and what we're looking at. I to have looked a little closer at the four, right? And why they were, how they were made. And maybe that's what the 11 other
Get into,
Hellraisers are
sure.
about.
Hmm.
Like why are they there? What is their real purpose? How did they get there? Can someone become a Cenobite? Like what is it? And it's interesting because none of that is explained at all. You just know that there's this box that's terrible and you don't want to open it. And it's going to come back and get you. So I'm intrigued enough to watch the next couple of them.
Hmm.
But it's so gory. And I don't mind that if it has a purpose. So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that it did so well because this happened right on the tail of like Nightmare on Elm Street, which was also like no, not not executed nearly as well as like the story behind it is much more haunting than
Hmm.
the actual
Sure.
movie, I feel like. And so it makes sense that, and the acting style for the 80s for horror movies, this is right on point where no one makes good decisions. The overacting is like huge. You don't everything is very dramatic. Um, and so I can't really hold it hostage for that. I can't hold it to too much account because it is right in line with what everybody else was doing at the time.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it did. I needed to sit with it a little bit because at the end of it, I was like, "This was awful." But I kind of get. I have an appreciation for why it made the money that it made and has fostered like this world now because I truly am curious as to what this box, where it came from, what it's all about.
Hmm.
And if someone will tell me, "Oh, that's in Hellraiser 3," then I'd probably watch them to get to that so I can
Right.
understand.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't necessarily mind even that all of those questions are left unanswered, and I do from like a story standpoint. Like I find like the idea of like this like hedonistic like approach to the story like really interesting. Even have like Frank says something along the lines of, "Yeah, I solved this box. I went through the gates of hell or wherever he went," and he just says, that he'd never experienced like more exquisite pleasure or pain in his
Right.
life. So I think that like those themes are kind of interesting, especially like in a horror sense. But yeah, a lot of it is, um, it's just kind of mentioned, and you're left to kind of wonder where those things were. And now we have all of these sequels. So I bet that if you went on to watch the next couple of these, if you went back and watched the original one, that this thing would probably be like a banger. You'd be like, man, this is really good. If you had a little bit more of like the groundwork for it. But
Yeah.
just like judging it like on its own, like to me, it felt a little thinner even than I would have liked for, something that's kind of a straightforward horror thing. But like I said, like I really like kind of the premise of this way more than the
Mm.
actual like substance of it. So, yeah, I don't know. Anything else here about Hellraiser, Michaela?
No, I mean the cocktail was great. Let's do more of the
Cocktail's good.
cocktail. It
Cocktail's good.
yeah. But this has quite the following. So listeners, if you're into Hellraiser and we got it completely wrong, let us know. You know,
Yeah.
if
Or
if
if
we
there's one
should
of these
watch
that we
the
definitely should watch,
right,
let us
if
know
the
then. Yeah.
latest one, the last one that he
Probably
did,
not.
which
Probably
was
not.
20,
Probably not the 2022 one. I'm
no,
gonna go out on a limb and assume that that's not it.
that's not it. Okay, well, if there is one that is, let us know because we're open to it.
That's right. Let's see if it's Hellraiser Hellworld that came out on September 6th, 2005. Let us know that. So yeah, we can watch that and check it out. But yeah, Hellraiser, it's a classic. I think it gets held up as such by a lot of people. Um, so yeah, let us know what you think about it. Let us know what entries are the best, and let us know if you make a Hellraiser cocktail because it was real delicious. So go ahead and do that. You can send us a note on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see pictures of the cocktail we made, episode recaps, written recipes, links to all of the things that can be found on our website. It's www.drinkthemovies.com. And if you want to support the podcast, the best place to do that is Patreon. It's patreon.com/drinkthemovies. We do bonus episodes, we do hangouts, we do cocktail chats. We have patrons only Discord. We have all that stuff going on. Again, it's patreon.com/drinkthemovies. And we appreciate our patrons over there so much. Michaela, we've got a couple more coming October way. We're doing a new film next week for Tron Ares. Maybe that'll be Halloween adjacent. I don't know for sure, but we'll find out along with everyone else. So where can they do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are distributed and supported. We do 2 drops a week here at Drink the Movies, but that's not all. We also have Drink the Video Games, which again is like regularly in the top 10 of video game podcasts. So you really should go check it out. Even if you're not a video game player like me, if you're a drinker like me, I pop in and do a cocktail every time. But it's super cool. Brian does a great job. So check us out. We're in all the places. And you can even find him playing the games on YouTube, which is pretty cool. If you, especially for the older video games, that's actually really neat. So check it out.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And we appreciate everyone who listened to us go on this journey of Hellraiser. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time on
Drink
Drink
the
the
Movies.
Movies. There's probably a quote. I don't know.
Come to
Hellraiser
daddy.
quotes.
His
Ugh,
face
no.
is getting
Oh,
pulled
yeah, he
apart
does say
and
that.
he's like, Jesus
Uh,
wept. And I'm like, where did
mhm.
that come from? Okay. Gross.
Where did any of this come from? I don't know. Came from Clive Barker's brain, I guess.